What's up, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. So, I wanted to do a quick video on tools. So, as makeup artists, we tend to constantly invest in what we're doing, right? And one of the most expensive and kind of confusing things anyone can buy are brushes. With so many brushes on the market and different brands having different options in regards to brush size and hair, a lot of people get confused. So I just kind of want to go over some brushes that I use on my everyday applications with my clients, on myself, and just my personal work as a makeup artist. All right, so here we go. I'm going to go through the first series of brushes. We're going to have a few more videos about tools and things of that nature. So I wanted to hit off with the most important powder brushes. Complexion is super, super important, and is one thing I've learned as a makeup artist. You have to know how to do good skin. So I just wanted to kind of go over some brushes that I use for powder in regards to my applications of makeup. So one of my favorites, and one of the first brushes I had, this is the 150 from MAC. This is a really great large size powder brush. This is really good for applying any type of powder foundation or bronzer. The larger the brush head, the softer the application is going to be. So the 150 is really great for just kind of a easy, kind of breezy, seamless application of powders. I love using that with Studio Fix powders for my brides. It's just a really great brush to have, or anything I feel like in this size family is pretty good, and it opens up pretty wide once you apply it. So if you're one of those people that stipple a lot, this is a really great way to kind of build up the coverage and have control, especially if you're using powders like Studio Fix, which is a full coverage powder from MAC that I love as well. Another great brush from MAC, this is the 109. So the size of this brush, as you can see, is a little bit different in comparison to the 150. More concentrated tip, a lot more blunt, and the hairs aren't as loose. This is really great for carving. If you're contouring or you're buffing out your contours, depending on what you're using and how you're building up, this brush is really, really great for just kind of diffusing those lines and just kind of really buffing them in. If you're starting off your contours with a brush like this, it is going to be a little bit more drastic. So you may want to just kind of lay down your product and then spend a little bit of time working it out, or the contour or defining, so to speak, can be a little bit more noticeable, but it's up to preference. There are no right or wrong ways to contour. They're just guidelines we all follow as makeup artists. Another great brush for contouring, I'm going to show you two. This is the 163 from MAC and the Eda brush from NARS. So as you can see, these brushes are very similar. Kind of have that, I like to call them like that razor shape. I used to work for NARS, and when I left, this brush was sold out. The Eda brush was sold out for maybe 3 or 4 months. Like, a beauty blogger got a hold of it. Everyone just went crazy for this brush. And then maybe a month or so later, ta-da, the 163 came up from MAC. The difference between the two in regards to, I wouldn't say hair quality, but just the feel, the Eda brush is a lot softer. So as you're carving and defining or applying, whether it be blush, bronzer, or your contour products, this brush is a lot softer. You're going to see the definition, but it gives you a little bit more fluff, so that way the lines aren't as sharp. To where the 163, this is a really dense brush. It's almost like a kabuki brush cut in half and then put in the ferrule, and the hairs don't really move too much. So if you were to use this, just be cautious that you're going to spend a little bit more time blending this out, to where the Eda is a lot softer. Once again, up to preference. I have both because I know what to do with them. Another great brush from NARS, the whole like Japanese collection, the Botan. This is a serious heavy duty bronzing brush, or you can use it for powders. I love to use this to diffuse products. So after I do a makeup application, I may set everything with a loose powder. I'm applying it with this and just buffing like crazy. This is also really good for any type of beauty work in regards to like bronzing the body, or like the décolleté, the shoulders, depending on what you're doing. This brush is not a game. I think it's like $65, but it's worth every penny. It has a little weight to it, and it doesn't travel well with me because I have the Makeup Forever brush container. However, I do travel with this brush. I love, love, love this brush. Then off to my other favorite from the NARS Japanese kind of series, the Yachio. So all of these brushes are inspired by Japanese kabuki and theater, and I was watching a documentary, And the geishas paint themselves with brushes like this. The white and the lines on the back of the neck, they're all created with brushes like this. And I found that to be really inspiring. Francois Nars, the creator of Nars, really took up inspiration from Japanese culture, hence a lot of the names and a lot of the techniques, and like even with the artistry and the skincare are kind of influenced by Japanese culture. But this is one of my favorite brushes to use for blush, for bronzer, a super soft application. I love the shape of it. And when it hits the skin, it opens up pretty fluffy. This is also really good to kind of erase any loose powder that may be placed under the eye when you're setting your concealer, or to stop your eyeshadow from falling out, depending on preference. But this brush is the bomb. Love it. And then from NARS as well, this is their angled blush brush. I only have one of these because angled blush brushes I find kind of give like a gradient effect with color. So you may have more color at the back, and then in the front it's a little bit softer, meaning down here. So you spend a little bit more time diffusing. Like I said, again, it's up to preference. This is a really nice brush. I only have one. I don't really like angled brushes like that. I'm all for soft applications. And I would rather control the intensity of the makeup versus everything being heavy and I have to kind of work backwards, which makes me work harder, which takes up more time, which won't keep me busy. Another great brush, this is a blush brush. This is the 126 from MAC. It's pretty fluffy in regards to the hairs. It is a very soft blush. I love using this for blushes. Sometimes bronzer, depending on the face shape and the color or how intense I'm trying to make the bronzer look, but this is also one of my faves. My last two additions in my powder family were for Makeup Forever. This is the 156 brush. Love, love, love this brush. For, once again, moving loose powder from underneath the eyes, matting down the T-zone. There's something about just the feel of the handle and like the weight is almost like a weightless brush. It's so easy to use. My arms never really get tired with this. Anything powder you can do with it. I use it mostly for underneath the eye, especially when I'm mapping out shapes with powders and I'm highlighting. This is a really great brush. And the fan brush from Makeup Forever. This is the 120. Again, lightweight feel. Love the feel of the handle. Hair's amazing. I use this in the Janet Jackson video to highlight Zenobia with, I think, a skin finish from MAC. Really great to kind of just touch up the brow bone and get on the nose, the forehead, depending on what you're using. But this is a really great brush, too. What else? Then, 227. I fell in love with this brush when I started working for MAC in 2009. This was one of my go-to brushes for everything. It's technically in the eyeshadow family because it's in the 2 series from MAC, but this brush, when you're in a quick hurry and you need to kind of apply concealer, foundation, this works really great with Studio Tech. It is a porous hair brush, meaning these hairs are natural, so they will absorb a little bit of your liquids or your cream, so it's technically meant for powder, but I'm just saying as an artist, this is how I've used it in the past. What I really use this brush for is contouring the nose. It's like the perfect size to really get on the bone without scaring your client's eye or making them kind of react because such a big brush is so close to the eye, so it's super comfortable, super easy to use. I have about 2 of these. One I use for contouring, the other I may use for diffusing eyeshadow because it is so big. So it's almost like the baby of this, but this one was out first in regards to how dense it is, but this one is a little bit more rounded. It's not as flat as this one, but love this brush. Then just added the 137. So I saw Romero using this, and he came up with this thing called kitten paws. And a friend of mine, we were sitting in a store one day and we were talking, and I was like, yeah, I need to get this brush, I need to get this brush. And we were watching Romero on Facebook. He's a senior artist with MAC. And I was like, oh, these brushes are really, really great. I love using this to highlight as well. It's just something about soft brushes. I just find your makeup to look so much easier and so much effortless when the brush is it just moves, you know. Tinser and denser brushes tend to just place products, so where this just makes everything look so much more natural. Definitely a must-have. And then the 135. This was the last one I got. I use this a lot for bronzers. Now, be cautious with these brushes because if you let the product sit in them for too long, they are going to stain. So you want to make sure that you wash them as soon as you use them. I just got these, so I haven't used them yet, but I definitely know that these need to be washed right away. So yeah, the larger the brush size, the softer the application is going to be. If you prefer something with a little bit more of a heavier concentration, try to use something a little bit more compact or more dense. If it feels like really tight when you apply it on the skin, this is going to give you a lot of coverage. This is going to hit more of the skin. If, for example, like the 150 from MAC feels a lot more fluffier, this is going to give you more control. So it's up to preference. More product, more coverage area, less product, more control. So it's up to you. But those are some of my powder brushes. I hope you guys um, learned something new. And if you're having like that confusing moment about powder brushes, I hope that this definitely helped. And I will be attaching links down below. Leaks. What is leaks? Links down below so you guys can take a look at the brushes that I mentioned and other brushes that are carried by MAC and Makeup Forever. These are just brushes that I use. Like I said, there are many other brands out there that sell brushes. I just have access to these two because I've worked for these brands and I'm in New York. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Also, share, like, and subscribe. And until next time, take care, guys, and keep being beautiful.